Hello and welcome to HBR Talk 237. More, what did I title this? More female dating strategists standards. I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with Nonsense Annihilator Lauren B. and the Doge in charge, Brian Martinez, because I'm still a little rusty I'm as rusty as that rake you left in your backyard last winter, let's face it. And as we promised last week, we're going to continue digging into the cesspool of feminist dating logic that we jumped into on Thursday, November 3rd. But first, we got to do what we got to do. As always, Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions, and as experiences both recent and long past have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. They've made it clear that for people like us relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work, treading on thin ice, or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. In light of this, we strongly encourage our supporters to switch at least their support for us to feedthebadger.com, the most stable way to help us out. And if you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platform's tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And as always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, which is why you should further provoke the thought police by tracking our thought-provoking discussions on honeybadgerbrigade.com, where you can find your way to all of our content, as well as a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. So remember, folks, information is power. We have it. They hate it. If you want it, you've got to go to honeybadgerbrigade.com and check out the latest feed from the Badgers and feed the Badger to help make it possible for us to share the news and analysis you come to HBR to hear. So back to those instructions for how to keep a female dating strategist off of your, we're going to continue gathering valuable insights on the dating standards of self-titled high-value women. Are you ready for some more quality ear pollution?
Quality? Is there anything that's like an oxymoron? Quality ear pollution.
Yeah. Some of this, I've been looking at some of their other red flags posts, and they're all standards that on their face, would sound kind of reasonable if you didn't pay attention to the fact that they don't like having those same standards applied to them.
Right.
Or that they are bad faith. They presume malice, or they presume entitlement, right? They presume things about these guys that it's sad. Last week,
or that even having standards is a good thing in the first place, right? Like they want standards for themselves, but men are not allowed to have standards.
Exactly, and obviously, if you don't have standards and then you complain about your dating experiences, that's bad as well. But you've got to have that, but you've got to be able to be ready to live up to standards if you're going to have standards.
Exactly.
And like what we read last week, to recap, we have this woman who, by describing is friends with the wrong people, by modifying that with like gangs or something. Like that tells me right there, like she's looking for high value men. She's looking for like the CEO type. She's looking for the type of guy that is going to take care of her in a relationship, right? That's her idea of a high value man. And then she mentions gangs, which is basically her way of saying, like, I can't tell the difference between, a guy who's got his shit together and a guy who is the shit, right? A guy who thinks he's right. Got it made because he's doing illegal things. And then she mentions underage. Like, are you dating underage guys? Because it seems a little sus. And then she goes on with isn't respectful to his family or elders. And, then says, my Asian parents are all for family men. So she's dating guys that are potentially in a gang and underage, and then she's expecting them to be part of Asian culture, and she's not dating Asian men. what she's doing there is basically saying you have to live as if you're part of my culture and not part of your own culture in order to be somebody I want to date. And that actually, when I saw that actually kind of, it cemented it for me. This woman is so solipsistic and so, single-minded that she can't date. She can't pick a guy. She can't differentiate between guys with good character and guys that are exciting. She can't differentiate between guys that are old enough to date her and guys that are not. And she already expects them to understand her culture, even if they're not part of it. So what's the next thing she says? The next red flag? Has a closed-minded personality.
No. The next thing she wrote is has a close-minded personality.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
True.
Maybe my mind is too closed to accept your fucking inability to
spell.
Right. I'm sorry. But you know what? It's kind of indicative. I gotta say it. Like if you can't express yourself properly in written form, how do you expect other people to? Because that's the very basis, right? Okay, you can't. Yeah, if you're talking to one another one-on-one and things just go awry, all right, well, I'm just going to write a letter. I'm just going to write it out. I'm going to explain everything. But you can't even express yourself clearly, and you expect someone else to understand what you're... I'm just something there, and it just seems to be a little bit amiss, and I don't know.
Yeah, she did. That doesn't seem very bright. Like if you can't read the difference between close and close, if you just put down the word, and it really does. It should be closed, CLOSED.
Right.
But yeah, but I look at this and I'm like, she doesn't want to date a guy that has a closed-minded personality, which would be reasonable for most people. But my first thought when I read this was, bitch, you got a mirror?
Right. No. Well, I mean, of course they do, but they only see what's on the surface. They never take the time to reflect any deeper than what they see on the surface.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. As much time as these bitches spend painting their faces to look good for other people, they have really no idea how ugly they really are on the inside.
Right, and it is one of these it's one of these situations where you expect a person, because they are part of a group, because they are labeling themselves as someone deserving of like special features in a relationship, a person who has good character, a person who's got their crap together. You kind of expect them to also be someone who is self-aware and has their crap together. Right? Mm-hmm. We're seeing nothing here, like nothing of that. And like this one, this has a closed-minded personality. Struck me because of those other 3 points as particularly like laughable. Then there's more. So the woman who can't tell the difference between a gangster and a CEO, who is dating underage guys and expects them to understand and be part of her culture regardless of theirs, who doesn't like men with a closed-minded personality, then won't date guys that only dates girls for looks. And again, like where we have the bad faith here, just because looks are one of a guy's standards doesn't mean they're his only standard.
Right. But and because this is the currency that they deal in, their looks, their what they can, their sexuality. That's their currency. That's what they have to bring to the table. But then you want to chastise men for then having a preference for women who are then preferable to them. Okay, if all you are going to be is a sex bot, a human flesh thing that I can fuck because you're not bringing anything else to the table. I haven't. She's got all of her red flags. I haven't. And I know, obviously, that this is her red flags. We haven't heard anything about this chick and what she brings to the table, because who the fuck needs to know about that, right? No, it's not about her. It's about what's wrong with him.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And this is my list of the things that are wrong with him. And if this is wrong with him, then I don't want him. And he can't have me. Well, what the fuck makes you think that you're the prize? I'm sorry. It's a miss here, lady, because again, like you said, this bitch can't distinguish a fucking gangster from a fucking CEO. Okay?
Yep, and here we are. She's mad about a potential standard.
Right.
There we go. And she's mad about that standard so much that she's treating it as if it exists, it's the only standard. She's presuming bad faith.
You know what?
Presuming a shallowness, and that bugs me specifically because that respectful of his family or elders line, that's about depth. So if you meet somebody that is respectful, even if good looks are important to him, it's almost a guarantee that he's not going to be a shallow person that only focuses on that. If you meet somebody who is accountable enough and driven enough to become, a high earner or a mover and shaker in his work community, like, that's not going to be somebody who wants to partner up with somebody that, doesn't have a personality, that doesn't have things in common with him, that isn't somebody he can rely on and only just looks pretty on his arm. Mm-hmm. That's going to be somebody who's going to want a real partner and is going to be disappointed if you turn out to be the shallow person you're projecting on him.
Right. And this, it says everything about this person's state of mind, right? Because you wouldn't have to, if you were a high value woman, you wouldn't have to complain about low value men or what you deem to be a low value man, right?
Like, it makes me wonder who she's dated.
The willing participants.
Well, that's just it. Like, I mean, I had hits and misses when I was dating. Mm-hmm. And I've always been the type of person that, if you are already friends with somebody or you hit it off with somebody over something, you've met somebody at an activity that you have in common, and that person wants to get to know you better, you got to give them a chance at least, because that gives you a chance to make a new friend, become close to somebody that might become a very valued person in your life, and so on. Mm-hmm. But there's always going to be people that you're gonna try that with, go hang out, have coffee, go on a date, whatever. And it's going to be like, well, we have this thing in common and we get along really well, but this is never going anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And that's fine. That's supposed to happen. You're supposed to go through a few experiences like that, right, before you find the person. It's called vetting. You find the person that really hits it off with you, that you really can make a partnership with. Mm-hmm. You have to figure out who you can't make a partnership with. Mm-hmm. But like, this is sad. And then she goes on with, after the looks comment, and this one is probably the one that is the worst. This is the reason why I picked this, because this seems like a high school girl's shit list, right? But acts too much like a typical nice guy / predator. So what has she done with this sentence? What has she done with this sentence?
She basically lumped them all together.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So if you're a nice guy, that makes you a predator, right?
Right.
If you know that you're nice to other people and you have an expectation that people will treat you nice and kind, right? Even if you don't expect things from anybody, any particular things from anybody, this particular action or this particular item or anything like, you're a predator for being nice. Like, that's creepy. That right there is, and it's straight out of feminism. It is the presumption of not just malice, but guilt. You have this assumption that everything this guy does or says, his whole life, all of his efforts at making himself who he is, they're all fake. He just wants to get into a woman's pants. And that's the thing that really bothers me. Like, there are women running around thinking like this about men.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm wondering what percentage of those women have read 50 Shades of Grey and actually kind of have some kind of fetishization, about, the creepy guy that's coming around to get her. And, and then so she just labels every guy that way.
Yeah, I have to wonder that myself.
It's not, I'm sorry. Every man that says a word to you isn't trying to get into your pants, lady. You have an overinflated sense of ego, right? You think a little bit too highly of yourself. And maybe you need to just calm down and realize that maybe this guy that's talking to you as you're sitting at the bar next to you is maybe just trying to have a conversation. It's not all about being a creeper, And if you don't learn how to differentiate the nice guys from the actual fucking creepers, then it's the fucking nail in the hammer. Everywhere you look, you're gonna see the hammer that's coming down to to nail you down. It's such an unhealthy way to go about life.
Yeah. Well, and you think about the situations that this woman is going to put guys in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So women ask men to do things for them all the time, and even women who think they don't do that. Can you help me with this? Or even just trying to do something and visibly having a hard time with it. If men see that, a lot of them will just automatically step in and help. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's your intention or not. It's going to happen. Right? If you're pulled over on the highway with car trouble and you open the hood of your car, there will be at least one man who will pull over and try to help you.
Yeah.
And that's even in today's environment when a lot of men know better. A lot of men know that, this could be a situation where, he's going to help her and she's going to falsely accuse him of something later. Mm-hmm. And this is the woman who's the danger that might do that, because here you are, you're just trying to help. You're just trying to see somebody through a rough situation on the highway, or carry something heavy for some lady that couldn't get it through the doorway, or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And afterward, she's sitting there thinking, was he being nice to me because he wanted to get into my pants? Was he looking at my butt? Did he say anything that I can look back on and say, gosh, now that I put it through my feminazi filter, I'm uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And if she finds a crumb, you're toast.
Yeah, exactly. She can't distinguish the difference between, just genuine human decency and the monster in the fucking corner. Right. And that is a huge, that's a huge disparity. She's talking about her red flags. No, bitch, we're talking about your red flags. And that's first and foremost, number one. It's not red. It's like fucking burgundy. It's it's like a fucking red flag bat signal.
Yep, she's basically describing this list as a red flag for guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what this tells me personally, like if I was a guy right now and I read this and I think, gosh, there's women in the world, there's women all over the country that I live in that think like this, right? My first thought is the next time I'm driving down the highway and I see a woman pulled over looking under the hood of her car, I'm going to leave her alone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop because she might be this woman.
Yep.
What if, I stop and I help and, a week later, the cops are at my door.
It might be Eileen Warnos, right?
Right.
So fuck it. Nope. Bitch, sorry, you got problems. That's your problem, not mine.
So here's what a woman does when she sees somebody stopped on the side of the highway and wants to help, right? Most of us aren't adept at dealing with car issues, right? Most of us can't really do anything for somebody if they got their hood up. Like I can help somebody change a tire and I can give somebody a jump, but beyond that, I'm not that skilled that I would be able to work on a car that isn't familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do is if they look like they're in distress, I make a note of the next mile marker I see. And then I call the state highway patrol and I send an officer because an officer can help them get in touch with a tow, can check on them and make sure nobody's sick or anything like that. And they're going to show up if the car's like stuck there. And they, the person goes home, gets a ride with somebody and all that. They're going to put a sticker on it. And a week goes by. If that car's still there, it gets towed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're doing something to somebody by calling the highway patrol. And they're not going to treat that person with a broken down car like a suspect. Because I've had the highway patrol stop and help me when I've had car trouble. They come along, they ask what's wrong with the car. If and then then you're getting help, then they just make a note of it and they don't stick around. But if you don't know what's going on with the car, if you don't have help coming, then they try to get you to a safe place and everything, and that's what you do. So then you're not interacting with that woman that you don't know that might think like this. You're sending somebody who has a body cam, who can prove everything he did and everything he didn't do. And that's that, right? And that's pretty much what women are going to have to deal with in the future, with women like this talking about men. And I'm, it may seem like a shit deal for women, considering we've had it pretty easy for the last 100 years. Of any time a woman shows any sign of distress, a man steps up and helps her. Right. But I hate to say it, women have asked for this. They've asked for men to walk away. They've asked for men to be afraid to approach them.
That's exactly what they did. I mean, you shouldn't hate to say it because it's the absolute fucking truth. That's what they've done. And this is the result of this is why this bitch over here is complaining. Every single aspect of it. She's complaining about the results of the males that have come out of this circumstance, right? The result of the males that have been produced as a result of these feminist fucking, doctor, like, get the fucking dads out the house, and it's just, it's just women can do it all. She's complaining about the pussy ass men that have been raised as a result of these women who think that they can be the mother and father at the same goddamn time. And at the same time, well, you know what? I'll take that. I'll take a step back because she's Asian. So I know that she has both of her parents in her life. However, that doesn't preclude her from falling in line with this thinking, right?
Yeah.
Because
if she's talking about gangsters, she's
She's
talking about men that grew up probably without a dad.
I'm trying to refrain myself from a specific negative term. Anyway.
I know. There's some things you don't want to say, then I understand.
I mean, I want to say shit, and I would say shit, but I gotta get on a plane, so I can't.
Well, and we also don't know if YouTube would turn around and be like, that's not allowed. You can't say that.
Yeah, I mean, but look, I'm half black. I can say it. Come on.
Yeah. But I mean, like you think about that that's that situation right there. That's it. This is MGTOW in a nutshell. Right? You're not allowed to like a gal's looks. She can be closed-minded, but you can't. You can't. She can't recognize your character. She's no judgment of character at all. She'll be an adult and date you when you're underage, or worse, she's underage. Like, at least an adult can appraise their actions a little bit, or should be able to, right? And then she's going to presume if you do anything nice for her, she's going to presume you predatory. Like, she's going to say, you only did that because you wanted it in my pants. Like, you can't even win. What if you buy her flowers? Is she going to be happy about that? Or is she going to turn around and be like, oh, you bought me flowers. What do you want? Like, I hate people like that.
Yeah, it's never enough. And I'm sorry, because I'm reading this last bullet point and I'm going through the roof.
Is mean. Who could that be describing? And just gives off bad vibes in general.
Just in general. Just like, you just like a stench that comes off of you.
Because women who are so high value themselves that they deserve to date a CEO are also so dumb that they need to be told not to date mean people who give off bad vibes.
Exactly. She's telling on herself like they always do. All of them, they always do this shit. Every time they fucking write an article, every time they talk, doesn't matter who they're talking about, the person who is writing the article, maybe they're just writing it just to fill their fucking word count so they can get their check at the end of the week. Whatever.
Yeah.
But all you're doing is telling on yourselves, unless you can be completely objective, which most of these people can't, right? Most of these quote unquote journalists, right, these days, they cannot be objective to save their fucking...
You want to know what's really sad about this, though? This isn't a journalist. This is a crappy Reddit post.
I know.
This chick wrote this shit for karma.
Right. Exactly.
Reddit points, internet points, meaningless.
Right. Just for clout, just to make herself feel better. Oh, what do you got? A couple of upvotes, or I don't know, whatever the fuck they do on this site, whatever. I don't know. It makes you feel better that people just like kind of agree with you. Oh my god, there's so many like fuck boys around here. Oh my god, and they're like the worst. Oh my god, like they're just so, oh my god, they're just so nice, but then they're just like creepy at the same time, and I just can't. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've only talked to him for like a week, but I fucked him, but I just can't tell if he's like a nice guy or just like this creepy guy. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Is this like a red flag?
So creepy.
He's so creepy. I mean, I'm totally not going to call him again. I'm just going to block him like on Instagram and everything. Like, seriously, it's over. Like, seriously, I'm just going to go and just post on everything about like how fucking creepy and ridiculous and how much of a fuckboy that he is, right? Because
I worked with the woman that you're imitating. You're killing me.
I mean, but you know, like you just all know a person like that. I mean, and she's just like right there, right? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm making Hannah choke. I'm sorry, Hannah. I really didn't mean to do that, but you know, I mean, I'm talking about this guy. Just talking about this guy because, like, you know.
Jeez, we need a whole a whole sketch of that.
Oh I could like totally do it. Oh my god, are we ready? Can we record? Like, oh my god, can we hit record? Let's go. Let's go. Oh my god. All right, let's talk about this guy. All right, so I was talking to this guy. Talking to this guy the other day, and oh my god, he was like so sketch. He was so sketch. I don't know where he came from. It's just like out of nowhere. Like, he just like asked me what my name was, and like, oh my god, why do you think you could ask me what my name is? Like, who are you? Like, oh. Anyway, so, you know, I was totally standing in line and just waiting for my like latte, and you know, I don't know. He was just like hitting on me. It was just so fucking creepy. And I just can't. Like, oh my god, like, why are all guys like that? Oh my god.
Oh jeez, and they actually think all guys are like that, but they would be really upset if you said all women are like that. You know what we need to do? We need to have a conversation. We need to give that character a name. That's Becky, right? That is so. Oh god.
Either Becky or Stacy.
Stacy, yeah, we could call her Becky or Stacy, but jeez, Pete, and then have her have a conversation with shit, what's that thing Allison does? Raven Wolf, something.
I don't know.
Moonraven, I think.
Yeah, Raven Moondragon. That's what it is. Raven Moondragon.
Moondragon. Yeah, that's
right.
Oh, right.
We bring back Raven Moondragon. Raven Moondragon has a conversation with Stacy.
Oh my god, that would be like so cool. I would do that. Yeah, is she cool? Is she hot? Is she hot? Like.
If you get like 5 minutes of you going yeah and her going yeah, but I won't be able to listen to it because I'll have an asthma attack. So how did Hannah die? Comedy.
That would be so
cool. Shit.
I'm like so down. Like, hit me up.
We
got my number, right?
We are totally doing this. I will drag you guys into it. I will figure out a way.
Like, I gave it to that guy, but you know, he was just such a douchebag. I just don't want to talk to him anymore. He's just creepy. I mean, he was like nice. Like, you know, he's got like a good job, and you know, lives on his own. And
I'm telling you, you sound exactly like the chick I worked with that just casually told people about her 4 abortions. I'm not kidding. And this chick did give her phone number to a guy after a conversation in which he revealed that he had gang connections. And she's like, afterwards, like 5 minutes later, it just occurred to her what she had done, and she says, you know, oh my god, I just gave my phone number to a gang member. And I'm like, you mean you didn't do that on purpose?
I mean, aren't there certain questions that, like, don't you have, isn't there a questionnaire that you should fill out? Like, what's your name? Where you from? Don't you meet this person? Like,
talked for an hour.
Jesus.
Well, I was working. Like, I was doing the tasks. We always have, you know, we work in retail, you get tasks, a list of tasks to do. Right. And it's cleaning tasks, you know, it's not anything like heavy lifting. It wasn't truck night. Mm-hmm. But she's standing there at the cash register. This, you know, guy is chatting her up. And they talked and like the whole time, I'm cleaning the fountain heads, I'm mopping the floor, I'm making like we called it making cookies, but it's taking pre-made cookies and putting them in a little paper envelope that people can buy from, and like all that shit, right? And finally I hear her exchange a phone number, and I'm not kidding. Like, I'm sitting there going, don't give this guy your phone number. What the fuck? He just said all the things he said. Like, no, this is not this guy. He should be dating gals within his social group because they're prepared for that stuff. She gave him her phone number. And I'm like, yeah, she's probably going to come back later and find a subreddit like this and write a shit post like this and complain about the red flag that you should have noticed that, this guy is in a gang. That's a red flag. Like, no shit, that's a red flag.
Right. It's all his fault because I found out later that he was into blah, 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 blah. No, maybe you should have not been so quick to get involved with this guy that you didn't really know, and I think a lot of it has to do with this culture of instant gratification, right? And a lot of it has to do with the internet. Like, ever since the internet came around, it's just whatever you want, you can get it right now, right? Like, you can find it, it's online, you can get it, blah, blah, blah. And so we don't take stock in or we don't really care about getting to know somebody else, learning another person, who they are. Oh, okay, I got your number, right? But that doesn't mean you have to go back to his house and fuck him that night. That's how you become a baby mama, right?
Well, unless you're like that chick, like, running around telling everybody, she literally, like, oh yeah, I've had 4 abortions, no big deal. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you didn't figure out the first time that when you have sex, if you don't use birth control, you can get pregnant, right? It's a little cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper to get free condoms from Planned Parenthood than it is to spend $1,000 on an abortion. There's a big difference, right?
Listen, and I'm gonna say this right now. I don't give a fuck how much money the difference is, right? How about you're not killing a person? You're not killing a human being because of your fucking irresponsibility. How about you fucking take 2 seconds, right? How about you fucking make a choice? Go down and get your goddamn self fixed. Go get pills. Go get a goddamn eye. There's at least 13 forms of birth control that women can use.
Exactly. Like,
men have one. And so what they do is they say, oh, well, I don't know. Whoops, I got pregnant. Oh my God, I don't know
how did this happen? It must be the knockoff fairy.
Whoops. But it's his fault.
Yeah. Or it's nobody's fault and everybody else should pay for it.
Exactly.
And I mean, I'm about certain, she probably went after guys for money for that. And there's another thing that, like, I've mentioned this before. I've mentioned this in a few shows, and since we're talking about this because of this person's list, I want to point out, if you're dating a gal and she asks you for abortion money, do not hand her cash. Like, you go with her to the clinic.
You get a motherfucking receipt.
Like, even if that seals the deal for you that you're never going to speak to this woman again, you're never going to be friends with her again, you don't ever trust her again, that's fine. You don't have to like her, you don't have to care about her, you don't have to feel anything for her in this situation. But if you are going to pay for an abortion, you go with her. You be the caring boyfriend in that moment who just wants to make sure that she's okay. Mm-hmm. And you go right to the clinic and you don't hand her a dime. You pay directly to the clinic. Mm-hmm. And the reason is there are women who will tell you they're pregnant and you're going to be on the hook for 18 years of child support if you don't give them $600 or $800 or $1,000, depending on what they tell you the abortion is going to cost. And they'll take that money, and they are not pregnant.
Yep.
Or they've taken Plan B, which doesn't cost that much.
Yeah.
Maybe their insurance even paid for it, right? And they pocket that money, and you were just a chump.
Exactly.
And I learned about that clear back in 1992 when a chick did it to one of my friends.
And so, you have to be upfront with these women. You have to know if you're gonna lay down with them, you have to at least have the conversation. Are you willing to have an abortion, or do you want to have kids? Am I willing to have kids? You have to know what you want, right? If you're not willing to have kids, then number one, wrap it the fuck up, okay? Right? Don't trust whatever the hell she says, because women lie as the day is fucking long, right? And so in the situation, if she does get pregnant and, oh my God, it's yours, you just deal with it, pay for it, and then that's it. You don't deal with it anymore. Don't deal with her anymore. Just move on, go on, and just fucking...
Well, and my personal advice is don't make an oxytocin bond with somebody you're not gonna, you don't want to stay with, because when you break that bond, it's gonna hurt.
Exactly.
And that's my advice. And then on top of that, if you are gonna have sex when you're not ready to get married and you're not ready to settle down and shit, well, or if you're gonna indulge in hookup culture and all that, like, statistically, not in reality, but statistically, half of the American population is infected with some sort of sexually transmitted infection, right? Now, the way that we get to that is that some people have more than one, and it's not actually half the population. It's less than half the population. It's just that there are that many diseases floating around.
Yeah.
Which is, and the most common one is the one that causes cancer.
HPV.
Yep. That one is one in six people. So if you go out 7 nights to the club and you pick up 7 different women, you have created almost 100% chance that you're gonna fuck somebody with HPV. And it's good that there's a vaccine. The vaccine takes care of 2 of dozens of strains, the 2 worst of dozens of strains. But those other strains that the vaccine doesn't prevent, they can still cause cancer. And they don't just cause genital cancer; they cause throat cancer. If you get oral with somebody, that's a threat. So, like, here we have these women that are all up in arms about your red flags, but you have to remember that the faster somebody is willing to jump into bed with you, the more likely she's endangering you. Because you're not probably the first guy.
Oh no.
Right?
No.
So I will get off my mommy soapbox. I don't think we're going to go to the second article because it's 8:16. Do we have any super chats? I don't think we do.
Let me take a look. No super chats. And let's take a look at super chows.
Okay.
Here. Just out of curiosity. No super chows either.
Nah, and I don't see any Rumble rants. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this before I start looking at comments on here for a few minutes?
Me?
Yeah.
Mr. Quiet over there in the shadows.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making sure that there's no weird technical
glitches.
Yeah. Well, as usual, the women who write these things, I don't know what they ask of themselves in terms of like, right, like, you know, here's everything I expect from a man. But, you know, do you consider what you are bringing to the table? And more than that, if the kind of man you're looking for appreciates your strengths, right? So like if you're like this woman, okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, because we don't know enough about her, that she's looking for a man of high quality that she can then marry and start a family with, and will take care of her and will do all of the TradCon stuff that I think that many of these you know, female dating strategy women are trying to get. They're trying to get like the highest quality men. And that seems ambitious but fair. But then they should also try to be high quality women. And if you're talking about, for example, is friends with all the wrong people, like gangs or something, right? Then first of all, it's probably the case that they are, because I think that women often downplay, you know, things like that where they say, well, you know, I don't know, but he might be in a gang, and like then the guy is like wearing like a wife beater and he's covered in tattoos, and you know he doesn't he doesn't speak English like normal people do. He carries a gun. He listens to really loud and violent, like, you know, gangster rap music or whatever it is, right? But basically all the signs are there, but she's pretending like they're not, like they're just typical of the average man. And I think it's because she's conflicted. She's basically torn between what she knows would be good for her and what turns her on. And so, you know, and of course that's her problem. That's not his problem. Like, and right. It's also entirely plausible that a guy like that could actually be looking for a good, decent woman because maybe he's done the thug life and thing and doesn't want to do it anymore. That's entirely plausible too. But I think that this woman only dates girls for looks, right? Like these are red flags for sure, but they go just as easily the other way. You know, if she's making assumptions about his mindset and his behavior based on traits that she actually finds sexually attractive, she's the one that, I guess in my opinion, has some issues to get over. And a lot of it starts with that whole like bad boy thing, you know, because that's what she's describing in this. So
I kind of want to go back to this only dates girls for looks, right? Because it touches on like a self-esteem thing, right? Like maybe she doesn't think that she looks good enough, right, to attract that guy. Or maybe she's just setting her sights too high. But it doesn't necessarily mean that she's an unattractive person, right? And I think women, especially women, of course, women, all of them, well, not all of them, most of them, they look at themselves as a reflection of the other women around them. And if I don't look like this, then I'm not good enough. And my eyebrows ain't on fleek, then I don't look good enough. You know what I mean? And they don't take enough time to accept themselves for who they are. You know what I mean? Because if more people did that, then they wouldn't be fucking worried about this this superficial bullshit.
I kind of wonder, this list feels like it's just a description of her ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder about the only dates girls for looks thing. if that's a description of her ex-boyfriend, she probably had an experience with a guy that was first attracted to her because she's pretty.
Right.
And then they didn't have anything in common. She liked him because he was a bad boy. She didn't like anything about his real personality. And he didn't have anything in common with her. And was just looking to get laid. But she was looking for a relationship. Like that sounds like, this list sounds like the kind of thing you would write if you were mad that some guy that was interested in you because you looked nice and he wanted to fuck, didn't give you the relationship that you wanted. So the thing about it is, you always have to be on the lookout for women that want something different out of the encounter than you do.
Well, yeah, exactly. But you also have to. All right. So here's another angle, right? So you got with him and he fucked another bitch because you think that he just fucked another girl because he just wanted to fuck. Maybe she has some redeeming qualities that you don't have.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a reason that he wants to fuck her more than he wants to fuck you old bitch. Like, you know, maybe there's something there, but she is not even willing to give the other person, the other woman that lane, right? Like, she's not willing to say that maybe I'm not enough. Yeah. Maybe this guy is not the right guy for me. No, he should like me. And it's his fault that he doesn't like me. And it's his fault that he's fucking somebody else because he doesn't like me. And it's his fault that he don't like me. Did I say that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's always his fault.
Right. So he can't do anything else, right? He can't move on because I'm not done being mad at him for not liking me.
And I've run into that, and I've had friends that I became friends with when I was in high school that I have had to talk down from that. I'm like, all right, your relationship's over. You should not be in the relationship anymore because he is not in the relationship anymore. Right. If you guys broke up, you can't stay in the relationship. Mm-hmm. It's not there to stay in.
Right.
It's like trying to stay in a house that has been torn down. Right. But there are women that will. They will try to remain in a relationship that no longer exists. And they will get mad at the guy for not being a part of that. Like, I'm sorry, but you cannot just sit on the dirt where the foundation used to be and pretend there's a relationship there.
It's like after a hurricane, we gonna rebuild.
Well, and at least after a hurricane, you can rebuild because you at least have the environment in which to do that.
Yeah, but they just it's like the oh my god, they're just holding on to straws, and it's not.
So before we go. The one other thing I want to point out.
We're going.
We're gonna go at 8:30.
Oh, okay.
Because I will. Did I watch WandaVision? Probably not the whole thing. Probably not the whole thing. But before we end the stream, I want to point out because I read that list and then went it down and I read the first comment, and her first commenter wrote a better list. It's not perfect, but a better list than she did, right? Because telling women to be leery of somebody who's in a gang, like, well, if you already know he's in a gang, then you already noticed a bunch of red flags, and the red flags indicate that he's in a gang. Being in a gang is like a no-go. It's not just a red flag. That's like, okay, that's it, and deal breaker. In my opinion, you don't need to call that a flag. Yeah. It's like being hit, deal breaker. Yeah. Right? Being hit when you didn't hit first.
Right. And you know what's even more disturbing to think about is, and we don't know this from this post, but there are women who have children who will drag them into these situations by dealing with these men.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
putting their children in harm's way because you have no idea what's going to happen. You know,
Well, here in Ohio, we just got targeted with a news story out of Indiana a few months ago, and this was not an Asian woman dating black gangster guys. This was a Hispanic woman who was housing an immigrant child, and she also had a man that came around the house who was an immigrant, and I believe both of them were undocumented. Both the child and the man, they were not related, and the man raped the 10-year-old. 10-year-old got pregnant, and so there's a thing going on in Ohio because we have this heartbeat law, right? The heartbeat law specifies very narrow parameters for this is when your right to have an abortion here in Ohio ends. And that narrow parameter is at the point where a heartbeat can be detected. So not at the age when a heartbeat might be detectable, but your equipment, there actually has to be documentation that you checked for a heartbeat. And if you can't find one, then you can't be prosecuted as a doctor for performing the abortion because you couldn't find a heartbeat. The heartbeat law says if you can find a heartbeat, you can't do the abortion, right?
Wow.
Now, so this kid was not at that point. There had not been a test of, is there a heartbeat? Is there not a heartbeat? The social worker that was working with her case sent her to an abortionist in Indiana. And the abortionist in Indiana performed the abortion sometime before their clinic closed, which most medical clinics are usually closed by like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening unless they serve a population that has limited access, like you're dealing with a doctor that treats heart conditions and stuff, and then sometimes you get a little bit more leeway just because there might not be another heart surgeon right in the area. So 5 o'clock the next morning, a news story is published with a quote from this doctor about a 10-year-old from Ohio that had to flee the state of Ohio to have an abortion because of Ohio's heartbeat law. And it was published to influence Indiana voters. But the truth was, that's not why she had it done in Indiana. Like, there was no Ohio doctor that said no. There was no Ohio doctor that was even asked. And it wasn't necessarily provable that the assumption on the part of the caseworker was that she wouldn't be able to have the abortion. It's very possible and very likely, in my opinion, that they were trying to avoid publicizing the fact that this happened because our undocumented immigrants are not being vetted at the border. And that's the only story that they were able to find of somebody that was young enough that being pregnant might actually be dangerous to her undeveloped little body. And it turns out that it was somebody who may be here. She may very well be here because she's a kidnapping victim, because that also is a big issue with the lack of security at our border, right? And the guy may be here because he was fleeing a criminal background in another country. We don't know anything else about that case. There could be all kinds of bad things. It could be just the bit that the information that came out could be the only information. But either way, the people that it happened to were in a position for it to happen to them because of a lack of security at our border, and because people are being sent all over the country from the border area by the Biden administration, and that's basically it. So now in Ohio, I've found out from some other people that I've talked to about their personal situations. Doctors that had been profiting right along from abortions are now lying to their patients and telling them that the heartbeat law prevents them from prescribing the morning after pill, Plan B, prevents them from doing tubal ligation, which it doesn't. There's nothing to do with the heartbeat law with tubal ligation. There's no baby to worry about at that point.
Right.
It prevents them from a whole bunch of other preventative. It doesn't. So they're actually exploiting the fears of the patients to try to manipulate the public. And then, they're telling them the Republicans are doing this to you. The Republicans are doing this to you. No, the doctors are doing this to you.
Yeah, right.
You can't get your treatment because they're mad that they can't make thousands of dollars killing babies. Pretty scary situation. But in any case, yeah, we go off topic a little bit there.
Well, I just want to let you know that we do have some super chows now.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to read through them really quick. All right. So Meredith G through the super chow gives us $5 and just says Honey Badger Radio Talk, HBR Talk 237, honey for the Badgers. And then she sends another super chow for $5 and says, HBR Talk 237, honey for the Badgers. Thanks for the laugh. I think we all needed it. Thank you, Meredith. And thanks for putting the titles in, because sometimes we do miss the super chows. And what I usually do is I look at the date and time that it was sent. And then I just sort of like say, okay, what did we talk about that day? And then I know what it's about. But I appreciate the extra effort. Nova fan, not using Rumble. So apparently there is something wrong with Rumble. It's not live on Rumble right now. I don't know why that is.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I thought I had it going, and on my restream.io it says I'm streaming, but you know what?
Yeah,
it's okay.
It streamed, but and then it stopped, but it.
Yeah,
it just played the video.
Yeah, it just plays the placeholder. But that's okay. You can come watch it on YouTube for now. We'll get this Rumble thing figured out. I think it might have just been like a glitch this time, because it doesn't.
Looks like it cut off after an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't usually do that. So
I wonder if there's a new setting in there that I just didn't see, because that's possible.
Well, I'm the one who set up the Rumble.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay.
Oh, Mr. 303 says it's live. It is
maybe
live.
I might be looking at the wrong link then. That's probably what it is.
It's he's in the chat saying it's live, but the Rumble link says please wait until your video finishes processing 33% and what time the live stream begins. So it's really weird.
Okay, anyway. Nova fan gives us $5 and says, since guys seem to date women in their 20s, I'm thinking millennial guys will date Gen Z women, including the next generations. If so, I expect millennial women to be largely single, and we expect the biggest wave of angry, rioting feminists historically in the West since the 20th century. Either way, what can we expect from that?
Well, one thing you can expect from that is that they are going to vote en masse to use government violence to steal your wallet.
Yeah.
Because that's what single women do.
Yeah, that is for sure. They're going to vote to take your resources, because ultimately, especially if they can't find a man to essentially get resources for them, they will simply use the state. And that's, by the way, by design. Like, they're supposed to be frustrated and bitter and angry at men, so that it's a lot easier for them to just be like, well, I'm going to vote to take their money because I need to be taken care of. And I think that's the purpose of it. So, but, I don't know. Is it going to be the biggest wave of angry, rioting feminists? I don't know. I think the ones from the 60s were pretty awful, and the 80s and the 90s. So I
And the
couldn't.
2000s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the 2000s. So I don't know if I turn it into a contest, but
Like honestly, it's not them marching in the streets that you have to worry about. It legitimately is them marching to the polls that you have to worry about. And I've always said in the past that repealing the 19th would not do anything because even if it was all men in politics, even if it was all men voting and all men in office and everything, men listen to female lobbyists, and I stand by that. Even um, even when it is all men, men will listen to women, and it's on both sides of the fence. But a female voting bloc made up of single women who want welfare and goodies, gibs for lack of a better term, right? They're going to vote for the men who will give them the most. They're going to vote for Monty Hall politicians and not for people who will safeguard their nation's economy. They're not going to vote for people who will promote like a safe environment with a military that protects the country and isn't being sent out as mercenaries all over the world. That's what they're going to do. And if it comes to the point where men can actually stop with the gynocentrism and stop giving women's groups everything they ask for, I will wholeheartedly support repealing the 19th, at least for a few generations, because it's going to take several generations of women having to figure out how unproductive that is and how damaging financially that is, how damaging socially that is, before they realize that treating Uncle Sam like Monty Hall is not good, and they don't have a right to it. So yeah, I think probably what we're going to see is an ever increasing female voting bloc that just basically votes to steal from you until such time as the wallet closes and no amount of pleading and begging will open it back up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I got one more super chow from Anonymous, and they gave us $25, so thank you so much. And they say, fear is the mind killer. All right. So those are all the super chows.
I was talking to one of my coworkers today, and he was concerned about am I doing the right thing, and am I doing that? And I had to tell him, like, listen, anything that you do, if you make a mistake, it can be fixed, right? Within the system that we're working with, right? But if you're always afraid of making a mistake, you're always going to make a mistake. You have to just calm down, relax, just slow down, right? Like everything isn't a rush to get through. Just calm down, pay attention, which is what a lot of people really can't do these days. Just pay attention, slow down. And again, if you make a mistake, say, hey, I made a mistake. And it's not the end of you, right? I think people are just afraid to make a mistake and be accountable or be held responsible for making the mistake. But you're looking in the wrong direction. I was talking to another one, right? Oh, he hit a car. He was parking a car and he hit it. And I'm talking to him, I'm like, well, what the hell happened? Oh, well, I was paying attention. I'm like, well, why weren't you paying attention when you're driving a $60,000, $70,000 car? Why wouldn't you pay attention? Oh, well, there was another car in the parking lot and, I got nervous. Again, it's just excuses for why you couldn't do something. And so that to me means that number one, he was doing something that he probably shouldn't have been doing. Because
Well, it's the point of the nerves, though, that that resonates.
Yeah.
I make 10 times as many mistakes when I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is when you when you're dealing with dating, it becomes 10 times worse for men because those mistakes aren't little.
Right.
You know? Like a little mistake is, maybe she doesn't like the way you dress and she doesn't talk to you again. Well, that's okay because if you make that mistake, that's her mistake too, and you've dodged a bullet. Now you're not married to a woman that's gonna tell you how to dress, right?
Right.
Unless like you're running around in a normal social setting in clothes that are just shitty. Honestly, and then you maybe just have some growing up to do, and you shouldn't be dating anyway. But like which goes for her too. But in terms of nerves, like the bad thing is like men have to have that. With dating, it's not the same as with work.
Right.
They have to be nervous. They have to be alert. They have to be a little paranoid. Because if they're not, they get taken by surprise. Right. Now, everybody always says don't stick your dick in crazy, but crazy has a way of masquerading for at least a short time as
comforting
boss. Like being the woman who is reliable and strategic and a go-getter, somebody that intuitive and has initiative and takes the initiative and so on. And then all of a sudden one day she's mad at you instead of somebody else, and you discover that oh shit, I stuck my dick in crazy.
Right.
Well, it's a little late to use the adage at that point, right? And I mean, 7 Years in Hell guy had that. He had his wife seemed like someone who really had her shit together until he got on her shit list, and then she became a psycho. Well, she was a psycho all along. That was the person she was on the inside. She just could only keep up the facade for so long.
Right.
So like with guys, I would say slowly progressing, like, don't give out your trust like it's free water. You guard it.
Right.
Think of your trust as every little modicum of trust you hand out is $1,000 worth of trust.
Right.
If you can't afford to give away $1,000, you take your time with that trust.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to go spend a weekend in jail while you're being asked a bunch of questions about something that never happened, then you can't afford to just hand your trust out like it's worthless. Right. It's worth a lot. It's worth everything.
Right.
So and this article, this post shows that, and this situation shows that.
Yeah.
So we probably can end it here, I think.
Yeah.
I think we can thank everybody for listening, and thanks to my two co-hosts for sticking out in the long sausage with me. It's a little bit longer than intended, maybe about 15 minutes longer than intended. And thanks, Brian, for being here. Because like I didn't realize how rusty I was till I got back in it, and I I forgot how many steps there are.
There are.
I have two.
There are an ungodly number of steps to setting this
I have two text files full of prompts. Do this, do this, do this. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. And I still forgot shit. So
I understand.
Thanks a lot for that. Because I needed it. And thanks to everybody who works in the background and make HBR Talk happen. And good night, all.
All right. Thank you, guys. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed today. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on HBR Talk, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.